What's up, Agency Go fam? So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a complete breakdown on how to use Bubble in 2022 and how you can build your own custom software without needing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars hiring a custom software development team. You yourself in 2022 can actually build your own software product. I'm not kidding, it's totally possible. I was able to do it myself, and we just hit $20,000 in sales this month, completely bootstrapped. This is on the back of my agency that I currently have. We were able to grow super quickly with this SaaS company without having to spend all this money and all this time researching and all this crap, right? This is a new era we're living in, and I want you to see exactly how amazing it can be. So we're gonna be cloning LinkedIn. We're not using this for commercial purposes, so please don't sue me or anything, LinkedIn. I'm not trying to do a carbon copy of your app. This is just for purely educational purposes. Would love to have you guys follow along with this tutorial. It's the first time I've ever gone in detail and actually started to build an app for you guys, and I really hope you enjoy it. Let's jump into it. What you're gonna wanna do if you wanna build an app on Bubble, which I'm not affiliated with Bubble currently, but I probably should be, to be honest, based on how often I tell people to use it. I don't get any commission for telling you about this, but I definitely recommend you start here. There's a lot of companies that are in the no-code space. Like you could think of Webflow as no-code, but really what Webflow is that Bubble is not is Webflow is truly like a no-code designer type tool, whereas Bubble, in my opinion, is more of a visual programming language, meaning that you're actually doing all the same stuff you would normally do if you were developing, but you just don't have to spend so much time building and actually hard coding all of the formal sort of UX, UI components of your app. That part's covered for you, which is what makes it so much easier. And you could start off for free. You don't need to pay annual, you can pay monthly if you do want to scale up. And basically, each of these plans right here are different levels of scale within Bubble. Now, what I want to kind of do with this channel and why I'm going to be talking more about Bubble as we go here is that I want to try to inspire more agency owners to build Bubble apps. I have a agency that's done over $4 million in revenue. And because of that, I think that, I feel like I've done so much now to not only build this agency, but also to integrate Bubble into our tech stack to then build apps for both of our customers and then also just for, the agency community at large. So I really wanted to make this video to show you the power of Bubble. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be actually building our own cloned version of LinkedIn. And this is strictly for academic purposes. We're not using this in a commercial fashion, but we're gonna be cloning LinkedIn. I wanna show you guys how you can build LinkedIn in a very short period of time, what steps you'd have to do to get to the point where you could actually use an app similar to LinkedIn. And once you see me go through this, it's actually gonna be just crazy how fast you can build this, right? It's kind of nuts. So I'll probably try to speed up some portions of it that are a little bit, longer so you can kind of go through as well. But just to get started here, I'll show you. So let's say you've signed up for Bubble. You're gonna create a project and you don't really need to upgrade, to be honest. Like I guess you could, but I've never really done that. And you're gonna be taken to this blank canvas here. And that's kind of the exciting part about Bubble is you really can build anything you want. It's a completely blank canvas. So in here, what I would typically do is I would start with some sort of a framework. So with us, we're going to start with LinkedIn, but you could also use a tool called Figma, which helps you build, I don't actually use Figma to be honest, but I know a lot of people do, that helps you build wireframes. Like a designer could build this and then you basically send this to your team or you yourself implement it and you can build pages directly from Figma inside Bubble. I believe there's actually a Figma section where you can import your Figma app. Yeah, right here. So you can import your design files directly from Figma. So you can have someone build something here and it's kind of like a UX UI designer tool. And they can take those same designs, they can upload it. So for these purposes, I'm not gonna do that because that's not really my style, but you should definitely try it if you actually want to start scaling and you may need some help with design, right? That's something you can do. And don't really take my word for design because I'm notoriously not very good at design. I'm much more good at replicating systems inside the software, right? So that's what I'm gonna be showing you today. Now, when you look at something like LinkedIn, right? What components does LinkedIn have? Well, LinkedIn has a couple of things when you land on their page. First and foremost, the design is in the center of the page. And this is what most apps have. So when I zoom in and out, you see how it's like everything condenses at a certain point. Like once we hit, let's say 200%, it starts to shrink like this. But when you scale out, like that, it's all staying within a certain container, right? And most applications operate this way when you're on desktop. And so you want to first think about that in terms of your design. You also want to think about this in terms of elements. So for instance, this is one element. This is another element. This is another element. This is an element. It's called the news feed, which I'm for sure we're all familiar with. This here is an element. Search bar is an element. This navigator is an element, element. Now, within these elements, the most common type of information you're going to see, and once you see it this time, you're going to see it over and over and over and over again for the rest of your life. And I'm excited to show this to you because when I realized this, it was a big aha moment for me, and it changed a lot of things about how I do business or how I build apps. But basically, when you actually look at this section here, this is a repeating group, which basically means that this is a group of data that is pulled from the database in an order, right? So LinkedIn, for instance, will have, let's say, 100,000 pieces of news, right? And then they most likely put it through some sort of an algorithm that shows up on your feed in the LinkedIn news section and essentially says, these are the top stories based on these engagements. And that repeating group essentially lists the top 5 top news articles. And then you can click show more to see more down here. This can all be programmed inside Bubble. Everything you see right here can be programmed inside Bubble, right? And so essentially, if you're looking at the news feed, that also operates a similar way. So you have this repeating group that will take a list of data and it will show it as a repeated function within the app. You can see this is also a repeating group. This is a repeating group. This is a repeating group. So literally of all this is a repeating group. This. All of these lists is basically what most applications are built off of. It's basically lists and groups with lists and groups without lists. And that's essentially how most apps are built. And even where it gets even more crazy, lists within lists. And so when you look at a comment, for instance, right? And for some reason, these comments don't have, here we go. Right here. So right here, when you put a comment here, you can see there's another one underneath it. Now what this is this is a list of the initial comment and it's a thread, right? And then you have the underlying thread underneath it, right? So you have this thread underneath this thread. And let's say there's 10 comments or replies to this individual comment. That list of replies is another repeating group. And so you have all of these repeating groups inside of this one element. So you have lists within lists. And the last thing I'll say before starting to build is that for the most part, most Bubble or even any kind of app development really is what you call CRUD, which is create, I'm going to sound stupid. I'm going to look it up. I've heard of this, CRUD apps. Stands for, what is CRUD? Create, read, update, and delete. I don't know why I didn't know that. I didn't go to school for software development, so that's probably why. But anyways, create, read, update, delete, right? That's what it stands for. And that's the foundation of most apps. So you have the lists, and then you have these 4 actions which occur within the software. And that's essentially what most apps are. So when we look at this, we're actually going to be looking at it from that framework. So anyways, let's jump right into building this app. So if I wanted to start, the first thing I would do I would start by having this first group here. And I'd actually find the color for LinkedIn by going like this. There's a tool you can use called Chrome Picker, like Color Picker. Color Picker Chrome. You can use this. It's just an eyedropper, and you can grab the color on anything. So I would start here. I'd grab the color. Now, when I go inside here, I can change this to any color, which is what's super exciting. I right click on this little group. This is a group right here. And the way to think about your pages, right? Because this is an individual page. I'm on a page right here, right? This page can have as many groups or elements inside of it as I want. It's a completely blank canvas. But this right here, the page itself, is basically one big group or container, or however you want to think about it. It's titled index. Now this is the page that everyone comes to this is basically the home page of the app, right? So in this situation, I'm not going to be creating a login. I'm not going to be doing any of that in this tutorial. I'm just going to be showing you how to set up the basic functionality of the page. So if that's the case, I'm not going to be building a login, but in theory, this is the place where if you were to go to app.agencygo.io, you would see that this is the index page, right? So that's essentially the index page, but I can paste the color here and boom, Now you have the exact same color. Now here's what happens when I hit preview. So I'm gonna preview this app. And this is actually something I was building before. So let me delete these pieces from this here. So I'm gonna delete this. I was trying to show somebody how to build a solar project. So let's say I have that. So I've reviewed this. Do you see how it's not expanding to the right? That's because it's fixed width. If I wanted to actually expand this, then I'd go in here and I could do, click this button. And now when I refresh the screen, watch what happens. Boom, all the way across the screen, just like LinkedIn. But then you see these other elements, they're not moving, right? They're staying the exact same. That means they are fixed width until you get to a certain point. Because if you go here, you see how they kind of collapse on each other? They're fixed width, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this piece here. I'm gonna go into here and I'm basically gonna add a group, boom. And actually this, you have to ask yourself, if you're gonna add a group, then the repeating groups go inside of the group, right? And so in this situation, really what you have is you have one group with text inside. You have all these social icons, you have these actions, and then you have a repeating group underneath, right? So if I go here, I can go and I can add one group, right? So let's just do this. Now, if you really want to get more exact, you actually can start inspecting some of these elements inside. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really do a lot of this because even though I do understand what this means, it is kind of a more cumbersome process, in my opinion, than just being able to go and kind of eyeball it for the most part. Like you could probably get pretty good at just looking at the dimensions and seeing how big this thing actually is. But as you can see, it's kind of a lot, right? So what I prefer to do without looking at the actual backend in the console is to just, again, kind of eyeball it, get the color, because this might be an off-white. I think it's just normal white though. Yeah, it's just FFF, right? So we're gonna get this. We're gonna remove the style of this group. We're gonna make the background style just this, right? And we're gonna see, okay, do they have rounded edges? Okay, yeah, rounded edges. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna go roundness, right? And then is there any sort of like border? Yes, okay, there's a border. So we're gonna go border solid. And then the color is not that dark. It's probably like more light like this. So you can start to see the similarities between the two, right? Kind of crazy. Now, the fun part about Bubble is not just this, what I'm building here. It's actually, and let me make this fixed width, that way it stays the same size. It's actually all the actions you can add with these elements and the things you can do on the back end. That to me is the most exciting. But let me just get this up and running. I'll start with this first one, then we'll start adding some actions into it. But let's say you have this here, right? And you have this, okay? So what you wanna do is you wanna add the elements within it. So you see this little thing, it's a photo. So we're gonna add a photo here, add this image, just like this, boom. We can make this more square, 50 by 50, boom. And then we can even, LinkedIn doesn't like when you copy their images, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to open this in a new tab. And I'm going to go like this. I'm gonna screenshot this baby. There you go. Save it. Boom, boom, boom. Upload that sucker. And then if you wanna make it into like a circle, like how you see here, right? Then what you can do is you can make it a circle and you can change the roundness to like 90 or something. See how there? Boom, just like that. So you want to stay within the red when you're adjusting this, but like that, right? And then if I need to add the text, I can go here and add text. And I think a lot of people, they worry about, and by the way, you wouldn't actually write Alex Hormozi. So here's what you would actually do if you wanted to. So I'll show you how it looks like, and then I'll show you what you would actually do in this specific circumstance if you wanted to have, Bubble do its magic here and actually build the repeating groups and things like that. So let me show you this text, boom. Okay, so it wouldn't be that style. There's actually a tool you can use as well. I think it's, what font is this? There we go, my fonts. So you can grab this, grab an image, go like this if you want to know. There's other ways to do this too, but this is one quick way. You could upload the font into here, and this should work. If it doesn't, there's another way. It's like that. Boom. Humper condense. Okay. So let's see if this works. There could be this option in here where you can change the font, right? Okay, now there's not really a good option here. So I'm just gonna keep that one for now, and I will change it if I want to going forward, but that's basically the idea, is you can change the font pretty easily just like that, right? And the size is a little too big, so I'm gonna change this to like 18, and then this should work a little bit nicer. Maybe change this up like this, just like that, right? Easy. So you can start to see it coming together. But again, what I want to show you is some of the magic of Bubble. I don't want to just like redesign this thing, because that's not really where it gets exciting to me. Where it gets exciting is, you see this where it says like Alex Hormozi. What you would do is you would go on the back end and you would add a user. So every user is like, he's a user of the software. And you would have somebody sign up. Now in this particular situation, it's kind of complicated. You would actually have to go and create this user's account to sign them up, but then you wouldn't be able to actually have this person log in unless they reset their password. It's kind of complicated like that. Basically, the way Bubble works is you have to actually let them, create their own account with their associated email in order to log into the account. But like, let's say I just wanted to get going and show you what this looks like. I could change the data types. So the database is on the back end here. I can change the data types. I can change it to full name. Change this to text. Boom. And then I can change full name. I can say like bio, or headline, let's say, because that's what they have. They have a headline. Change your headline. Make this into a text type. I can pretty much do that. And then I could even do like photo or profile photo, just like this. Boom. Okay, so basically what I can do now is I can add these new things. So I can say Alex Hormozi on the back end. And by the way, and again, this is where it gets exciting. Trust me, hang in there. This is where it's going to get really fun. Is go into here, you add the headline, and then you add the profile photo, just like that. Boom, boom. So now what you can do is you can change this. You can say, instead of Alex Hormozi, I could make this group, I can make it a user, and then I can make this right here a specific user. I can say parent group's user full name, and I can change this, and instead of having this here, I can say insert dynamic image, parent group users profile photo. So this is where it gets more exciting. You see how you can pull this up? So now what you have to do is you have to assign this group an actual profile or an actual user associated with the group. Now the thing is, if I wanted to make like only one group and display only one user, then I wouldn't make this group dynamic. But what we have to do is, you see how this is listing all these different users here, right? Because it's listing all these different users, every single one of these little groups, and this is where it's going to get kind of crazy, so hang on there with me. Every single one of these groups is actually in a repeating group. So again, this is kind of nuts, but it will make sense here in a second. So you have a list of these posts, right? And they look like, let's say, something like that, right? Each one of these posts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here. Just like that. Okay. And you see how now this group is inside this repeating group. So what I can do is I can say, okay, I want to list all of these inside one place. And actually what I want to do is, because you can't see the border on these other ones, I'm actually going to list these all as posts. So this right here is actually going to be a post. So I don't have that data. So I'm going to go and I'm going to go new post inside data types. I'm going to call it post, just like that. And what features of this post are in here? Well, there's the user who created it. So you have, well, created by, which will be shown later. And then you have the post text, right? So you have post text, let's say, like that. And then you have post comments, which would be another thread within here. So you'll have to create, and this is, if you're familiar at all with what's called relational databases, this is a relational database, right? I'm basically connecting one data type to another, and I'm referencing it, and I'm calling it inside the app. I'm calling one data type from another one. It's kind of nutty, but this is how it works, right? So you go in here and you see all these different elements, right? You have the comments, which would be threads, right? And you want to make it singular because it'll resolve the plural. And what's within the thread? Well, you have a user who is inside the thread, or the post that's associated with the thread. And usually what I like to do is I put in capital letters anytime that I actually refer to another data type, right? So I'm referring to the post, right? And one thread is connected to one post, right? Just like this. What else is inside here? Well, I'm connecting to the post, so that way all these will show up. But also what's inside a post is the people who have liked this post. See how there's 233 people in here? So what you want to do is you want to create, let's just stick with likes for now. I mean, you can create other types. Like you see how there's 3 different types or 5 different things you can comment on. But let's just do likes for now. I can create a list of likes, right? And I can make a list of users. So every time you create a new field, that can actually be a list. So I can go create just like that. And then, for instance, I could do, how each one of these is a thread. I could actually do, let's say, comments, right? So you have the post, you have the thread, which is basically this whole thing is the thread. And then you have comments, which are inside of this. Now, here's the thing. Here's one key decision. If this comment is just going to be a piece of text or a thread, then you don't need to have anything else associated with it. But as you can see, what do these comments have? This is where it gets kind of meta. These comments have comments underneath them because the comments have replies, and those replies are basically just comments that are associated with the response, right? And then also they have things like likes associated with it as well. So what you actually have to do is you have to create another thread or another data type, and you have to do this as the individual elements of this individual comment. So you have, let's say, a like. So you have likes, and those are also users who are liking the comment. And then you have replies, which are also comments. So this is where it gets kind of crazy, but this is how it works, right? So replies that are also comments, because the comments are an object that are being listed. And in theory, you could actually do it where the thread is actually referencing itself. And this is where it could even get nuttier. So in theory, I don't necessarily need to have comment. I could, in theory, just have an infinite list of threads, right? So I could say this right here could be comment, right? And then this could be thread, right? And that is true. The tough part about that is it's a little bit complex from a database perspective. So what I like to do is I like to make singular objects to kind of set sort of a hierarchy of how the app is being designed. So you have like your thread, and then you have your post, you have your thread, and you have your comment, and within that is your users, right? Just like that. So now we're going back to the app. Now that we have these created, we have the posts, which is here. And then the data source is a search for all posts, because it's going to show all posts and it's going to list them all out, right? And then inside here is not actually a user anymore. And this is going to break some things. So anytime you break something, it shows up as an issue here. It's not actually a user. It's current cells post. Now this is where it gets kind of weird too. Basically, every time you have a repeating group, I was talking about the repeating groups before. Anytime you have a repeating group, you have multiple cells within that repeating group. And then those basically reference that list. So you have like cell number 1, cell number 2, cell number 3, and every cell is basically a row within that repeating group, right? So you have here, this is current cells post. And so this is, I guess, number 1, the first cell. And then inside here, it's broken, so you have to change this. So it's actually parent groups posts. And then you need parent groups posts creators full name. And then this here, parent groups posts creators profile photo. So you see how it's like referencing all these different parts of the other data types? That's the key, because if you're referencing the other parts of the data types, it's going to keep being nested and go through the entire thing, right? So you have that. What else do you have? You have the headline. So we can make a headline here. So let's do that just like this. Boom. And then posts, we have a headline. Yes. And then you want to rename these too. So we're going to say post headline, post user headline. And it's very important that you name these things as you go, because if you don't, it's going to be very difficult to keep track of all these different elements. And by the way, if you want to see all the elements on this page, you can just go here and you can see all the elements. If you want to see all the pages, you can go here. And then we haven't even gotten to the workflows part yet, which is going to be fun. So give me here a second. This kind of trails off. It goes over here, just like that. You see that? That's how they do it. Okay, now we got the post text, which you can just do Control D or Command D, and it will actually show the post text here. So you can do something like this. And we're going to do post text. We're going to change this to text. And then we're going to change this to post user profile photo. Post user name. There you go. So now we have all this. So what we could do now, this is what nothing will actually show up here at the beginning. You see how it's just like this weird line, right? Nothing will actually show up here. The reason why is because there's no data associated with these things. We have to actually create the post. We got to attach all these things to the back end and actually show that's all working. So if I change the type of the repeating group, it'll change here. So now there'll be not that weird bar. And then if I go inside here, I have to actually add this now. So what we have to do is we have to create a post. So there's no post created. So the post text, let's just take the exact same post text from here. Boom. We're going to go in here. Boom. Great. And then this is a little bit advanced, so I'm not really going to get into it too much, but like, do you see how you can copy this link to a post and then when you share it, it looks like that? So this is a way to change what's called the slug. And again, I'm not going to get into this right now, but this is how you can share links across the internet. It's pretty nuts. But do you see this? Just like that. It's already working. It's already working. Kind of cool, huh? But you have your post, right? And then the problem is this post was created by an app admin. So if I wanted to create a post, let's say, and I'm just going to add this little button just for demonstration purposes. I'll delete it because it doesn't look like what we're trying to achieve here. So I'm going to just do this again for demonstration purposes, and then we will delete it. But basically, if I wanted to create post just like this, right? I wanted to have here, this is what I mean by like the workflows. So if I were to create a workflow, create post clicked, when I click that button, it creates a new post just like this. It takes that multi-line input that's here and it creates a new post from it. Okay. So if I go here, right, what is going to happen, this is exciting, is you see how, I got to change that to fixed width. I can add this here, and then it sometimes get a little wonky, so I'm not going to fix this right now. But basically, if I create this post, you see how it comes down here? So now it has me as the user who created the post. Now, the thing is that if you see here, right? So it doesn't have the right created by because there's not a user associated with it. So I'd have to actually create an account. So basically, my point being is that you see how there's no photo showing up? That's because I wasn't logged in. I have to actually create an account and log in. And again, for the purposes of this tutorial, I don't want to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and delete this, but I wanted to show you how these workflows actually work, right? That's how you do it. And if I go here and I delete, let's say this, and I delete this, boom, now we're back to square one. If I just go like this, it will work just like that, right? So that's how you get the post to go. And then if you wanted to actually add in some of these other elements, then you could do what's called, adding in these repeating groups underneath it. So let's say if I wanted to add a repeating group of the threads and I wanted to do it like this, right? I can actually add text underneath it. Just like this. And then this can be referencing the current sales posts. So you know how I said I had to connect it back here? So let's say I have the current sales post. I have to reference the comments, and the comments are a list, right? Because there's multiple comments. So I can go comment, list, create, boom. Now what I can do is I can say current cells, this is, oh yeah, that's why I have to take this out. So like that, right? Comments. So this is part 1 of the LinkedIn tutorial. And I'm going to kind of get more into this later and finish it up. But basically, this is sort of the basic overview of how you would go about building a LinkedIn clone. And you would start off here, and you would basically start by building this. And then just from this blank canvas, you can actually transform it to be something like this LinkedIn UI. Now, you can tell that it takes a very long time to build this, and so I'm not going to be doing the entire thing. I'll be doing it in installments, but this is part 1. Definitely stay for part 2 and 3 and so on as we kind of go through the entire process together. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for more content just like this. Like, subscribe, share. We're going to be creating more videos on how to build apps for your agency so you can improve your skills and grow as a developer.